This is my good friend and colleague, Paul Kirschbaum. I'm Leslie Wooten. It's 10:33. Let's get into it. Today's topic, recruiting. Now, this is part of an entire series that we're going to bring to you through 1033 Consulting, and it's hiring talent. So this is part 1 of 4. So this is recruiting, then we're going to go over training, then we're going to go over retaining, and then part 4 is going to be inspiring. So let's get back into this one, which is recruiting. So yes or no? And I'm going to quote a children's movie here, Paul. Anyone can cook. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, to a certain degree, yes. Anybody can technically cook.
Okay. So I'm sure you're familiar with the movie, but it's basically saying like anyone can do this job, or at least, giving the impression of it. So let's bring that into the real world. What happens when you bring someone in that does not have the ability to do it at the level that you need them to do the task at hand?
Well, that's where training comes in. If you bring somebody that's just has no knife skills and never even held a knife, that's a lot of time and effort you're going to have to put into it. And you got to make that decision. Is it worth that effort? Or do you need to find somebody that has more experience? Now, we've talked about experience in the past, but there is that like line of demarcation where you kind of have to have at least this much to do this.
Sure. So it's how much of that can be taken care of in the recruiting phase, or how much of that do you think that operators just open their doors and cross their fingers that the right person shows up? How much is the effort required for the operator to find someone rather than just waiting for applicants to come to the door? Are you going to find the right person if you wait for them?
No, I mean, the effort is up front. It's all up front. I mean, it depends how much time you have to spend on recruiting, which should be a lot. If you want to find the right people to fit not only your culture, but actually fit the job description. I mean, it's crazy enough that a lot of people don't talk about job description during the interview. And you need to know what you want and what you're looking for. So some of these questions can be answered quickly and moved on to the next part of, do they fit the culture? Because they could have all the experience in the world, but if they don't fit, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, I think there's a big distinction between experience and then personality and fit and what you need for the job. Because if you've, again, I say all the time that if you've been a floor manager and you've almost literally stood in a dining room for 6 years, I don't know that you're proving to me just because you were there that you've learned anything. Like, I want to know what you did. Did you experience like adjusting the blinds at sunset, or were you interacting with the guests and solving problems? Were you overachieving? Were you anticipating guest needs, or were you responding to fires because you didn't know how to see fires ahead of time? There's so much that you can get out of that interview process that you, the operator, have to go looking for the applicants, because who knows who's going to show up at your door. Like, I don't know. What happens if you just stick a now hiring sign on your door?
No, don't do that. I have deep, strong feelings about that. Listen, a great mentor of mine, a chef, very close chef friend of mine too, gave me some great advice when I was young. And he's like, listen, all the good people have jobs. All the good ones have jobs. So you have to go get them. Now, are there times like now with COVID, it's a whole different ball game,
Sure.
and the talent pool is going to be completely different. But he said, like, and especially in the back of the house, like a lot of the good ones, they're employed. They don't have to look for a job. There was a good 10 years where I didn't even write a resume because it was just word of mouth and people knew who I was. They're like, oh, you work there? Oh, well, if I know you work there, then you can come, we know you can do the skill.
Sure.
Kind of like that New York experience. It's not New York City experience. It was just, you worked at that establishment. That establishment has a culture, has a reputation, which was high. So if you work there for a long period of time, we know that you can probably do the job we're asking you to do.
And I think there's something to be said that, people are in all kinds of situations where they're looking for jobs or they're unemployed for all kinds of reasons. And as an employer, sometimes when you know that you're working at a reputable place and you weren't fired from it, you're still there, that's going to speak to me about somebody who's actually achieving in that environment, rather than somebody's like, yeah, I was there for 3 months and I didn't get along with the manager. I'm like, okay, well, you didn't get along with the manager. I know that manager, and that's a hard thing to do, is not get along with him. So it really speaks to having somebody that's already in a job. Does that make it harder to recruit if you're willing to look for somebody who's still in a job?
It makes it harder. It makes it a little more aggressive, I guess you could say. But that's I
Sure.
think that's what you need to be in this industry.
Mhm.
I mean, let's just be honest about it. Right before COVID, it was a tight labor market.
Mhm.
There wasn't a lot of free talent out there. And when they were free, they were scooped up very quickly, or
Mhm.
on a list basically. And we did everything because if you knew somebody was like looking, you did everything in your power to keep them, make them, make them stay, either financially or just promoting. So I think it's a tough one up there. So I have no problem with it. I'll drop my card, be like, hey, give me
Yeah.
a call. You're amazing.
Mhm.
I just want coffee. There's nothing wrong with coffee,
Mhm.
but then you get into that poaching.
So is it, I mean, okay, so let's say that it is poaching. You're looking for staff. You're looking for somebody to run your front desk. You're looking for a great host or a bartender, server, whatever it might be. And you're out at another establishment and you see somebody who's phenomenal. Is there a morality line? Is there a code of conduct on speaking to them about the job? Do you have to do the thing where you say, if you know anybody who's looking, like, no, man, I have this opportunity. You're great at this. Do you want to work together? What's the line? Is there a line?
Oh, see, this is I think you're gonna disagree with me on this one.
Cool, I'm ready.
I think it's different between front and back of the house.
Okay.
I think in front of the house, it is more tolerated. It is more accepted. I think because most of the time the front of the house, you can use a lot of the front of the house bartenders, servers, sometimes have two jobs over two different restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
and you have more of them. In the kitchen, it's harder to find talent, and there's a lot more egos at stake. So I remember, I've been on both sides of this. I've been poached and I've poached.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, it depends on the size of your community. New York doesn't exist. Unless for the
Yeah.
higher end restaurants, it absolutely
Sure.
exists. I think it depends on the restaurant, depends on where you're at. But chefs take it really, really personally if you grab one of my sous chefs or one of my line cooks without talking to the chef, which is ridiculous now that you look back on it. But it's still a big deal to grab people in the back of the house from especially from competing restaurants.
So I do disagree with you because I don't care about that person's ego, and I'm not going to tiptoe around a fragile chef because they're so sensitive to being poached. If you're running a great kitchen, me asking somebody if they're interested in a job should immediately come with I love it here. Not interested, thanks so much. And it should be a sign of respect of what you're going for. But if you've got a fragile ego and you're worried about me poaching, I wonder what kind of kitchen you're running. And that'd be the front of house, back of house. That'd be construction industry. That'd be anywhere. That if my one question out of the blue, trying to offer somebody a job, is offensive to you, my goodness, I'm really
I
going
don't
to
think it's
worry
that.
about.
There's some shady stuff that goes down.
Sure. Okay.
I
So
think
let's.
that's where, like, I've seen it where somebody's grabbed one of my guys, or actually, I was actually one of my ladies. She was a rock
Mhm.
star. Um, they poached her, and what the messed up part was they promised her more money, but they gave
Mhm.
her less hours, so she made the
Mm.
exact same money.
Yeah.
But and so that they didn't tell her that stuff. You're like, oh, I'll give you this much money, but they
Sure.
never asked, am I going to get this many hours? Because
Sure.
in the kitchen, do you really work 40 hours a week, especially
So
for your salary?
so I think the immoral or the line there that's crossed is you've misstated your position.
Yeah.
And so where I'm not about to hesitate about somebody's ego or bruised feelings, I'm still going to go about it the right way. You said without speaking to me as the manager, I want to speak to the manager. And if they like get out of here, get out of this place, like I'm not gonna poach them. But if I'm looking for talent or if I find talent when I'm there, I'm gonna be open and honest. I'm gonna speak to the employee, tell them what I have, what I like about what they're doing, not just, hey, we're hiring, but hey, I noticed you do this, they do this. I think that would really work well with me. And I would 100% give the courtesy to the manager on duty or the owner or somebody that I knew affiliated with them about the fact that, hey, I approached somebody there. I absolutely asked them if they wanted to come work with me. And I still respect the hell out of you. And if we could find a way to work our schedules out, because like you said, a lot of times in this industry, you've got 2 jobs, 3 jobs. I'm happy to work with that. I'm happy to play second fiddle to somebody's work schedule if I see some talent, because I'll take talent one day out of the week if I can get it, rather than limited talent 4 days out of the week when it's going to impact my business.
That makes sense. I mean, that makes sense, but I think it's a little more free flowing in the front than it is in the back.
Sure. I'm also not scared to poach a manager if I think they're great. And on the flip side, if we're working to motivate our teams, make sure that they feel good about working there, and that's something that this series is going to get into, is how to make sure that people are motivated and inspired to retain your team. I think that speaks to your culture that, hey, I've got a soundproof team. Like we're moving forward together. I'm confident that I'm giving them every opportunity they deserve that's within my means, financially or time-wise, realistically, that I don't think you could poach my team.
Yeah. I know chefs that they'll get to a point with their sous chef or another line cook, like, I can't teach you anything else. You need to go work for somebody else.
Sure.
And they actually help them find a new job to help them grow. And I know chefs that do that. So they're not always shady stuff. There's some cool stuff out there. I've seen it. I've traded line cooks before with somebody because it's like, he's awesome. He's wasting his time here. He needs to go work at a better place, or higher end place, not a better place. A more,
yeah, for example, like
we're
like
seafood, high seafood.
Yeah.
It was barbecue.
Barbecue
it's actually
only.
funny. It was barbecue, and it's going to like a high end seafood place. And I was like, he needs that grow, because this guy's going to be a executive chef in a year or two. This is how good this kid was. And so I think that part of it, if you do that, and your other staff see you do that, and see what you want the other person to grow, and you literally not get rid of them, but you find them a better position, you don't understand the loyalty you get. I can make a phone call, and I've not always been the greatest manager. I learn from mistakes, but I can make a phone call and have a sous chef tomorrow, because I just know I have a network of people I've taken care of, and I wanted to see grow because they were good. They were better than me.
I mean, very specifically, first time you and I worked together, sous chef came with you, and he was phenomenal. And in fact, as soon as you left, I took him everywhere I went. So
twice.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, and you know where I got him? We're not gonna use any names. I got him when I was a manager at Applebee's at like 22 years old or something, 23 years old. He was a line cook. Phenomenal. And then I went to another chain and I took him, and then I went to you and I took him again.
Yep. I still keep. He's awesome. Like anytime I talk to somebody, I can absolutely get into the mindset of, you're keeping that guy, right? They're like, yeah, we're taking care of him. I'm like, of course you are. So I feel like we're pushing a little bit into the retaining and inspiring part of it. So let's get back on to the recruiting side of it. And I think we do agree overall poaching is okay, and you almost have to. And actually we'll agree that the shady parts of it, like the under the table deals and trying to pull people from other establishments in a negative manner, I completely disagree with, and I think you do as well. That's not okay. That I think you got to be open and honest about it, and where you're probably a lot more respectable between chef to chef and the mentality and the brotherhood. I'm not going to dance around a fragile ego, and maybe it's not a fragile ego, but somebody's like, don't poach my people. I'm like, have a better staff, because I feel like somebody could come to my establishment, talk to my team about a job, and if they're like, yeah, I'm interested in that, I'm like, cool, go for it. And I don't have a problem with that. I can even move on and let bygones be bygones and go to the next step. Recruitment wise, let's go with this. Let's say that your staff is full, like you have this par and you've met that par. Would you still accept applications? Would you?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And it's
Uh,
not like an intimidation thing for my staff. It is something you just need to keep you always got to be looking. Oh, even if you're full, if you're doing great, always keep looking because you never know what you could come across. You might come across an all-star. I've had a couple all-stars in my career. I think we've talked about that one of them who she built our sales so much. It was I've never seen it happen before, especially in weekday night sales. Um, so you need to keep your head on swivel and see. Don't say, "Oh no, we're not full." I'm taking every resume, any virtual
mhm,
resume, anybody walking the door. I'll sit down with you. Are you hiring?
mhm.
Maybe. I
Yeah,
never say no
no.
because you never know who that person could be until you sit down and talk with them. And let's be honest, there's always like a 10, 20% in a restaurant that's always kind of like flushing through. No matter how good you are, there always like there's always somebody leaving for school or just not making the cut or you never know. Good, bad things are in between. But you always have that bottom that kind of like it's not bad to have a bench where you can bring somebody in and just say, listen, a little competition is not bad. I think it's good. I don't think it's a detriment to them.
A
So
1,000% agree. I think it's absurd for an operator or an owner to say, sorry, we're not accepting applications. You, how on earth did you find the perfect staff?
yeah,
Congratulations. Teach me that because I work so hard to get there. And you know what? If you're a small mom and pop and you've got the same bartender, front desk, everything working for you, and you've got a team of 4 or 5 and you've had them for years, you probably do have the perfect staff. I get it. A lot of the times you and I, Paul, are working with bigger corporations, hiring 5, 6, 10,000 people. You don't have the perfect staff. You've got somebody in there who's looking for another job. You've got somebody in there who's struggling in the job that they have. You've got somebody that needs to be moved up, or you've got somebody that's ready to promote, and you've got to bring somebody in so that they can promote. There's lots of positive reasons on top of the, like you said, intimidation of bringing other people in, of why you should be always looking for new talent. Why would you not? And if your talent that you have now knows that you're always looking, what's the natural response?
yeah. No, they're on top of their toes.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, and and this comes New York Central. I've only seen this in New York City. I've not seen it up here. I can't remember if I saw in Boston. That's the only one I can't remember. Definitely did not see in Texas. Was the phenomenon of guest bartender. I
Oh,
love it. I think it's
mm-hmm.
genius. Whoever came up with it. And it doesn't translate to every market, but that fact, bringing a brand new person in with their clientele, mind you,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
so it's a win-win. And you
Bartenders
staff
have
them.
fans.
They do. I mean, they're like internet famous.
Yep.
So you bring them in and you pair them with the right person. That's
Mm-hmm.
important. Don't pair them with somebody you know is going to butt heads. But
Mm-hmm.
if you pair with somebody that maybe does the same thing, or you talk to an establishment like, hey, let's switch bartenders, like just one out a week, and we get some of your guys, but you get some of our guys, and then we get new blood into our restaurant. So that's more of a marketing tactic, but I think that somewhere comes into the recruiting phase of, hey, listen, you want to come bartenders once a week? I'll talk to
Mm-hmm.
your manager and your owner. We'll make sure it's cool. I'll trade you one of ours. So it's not like you're trying to take anybody off. You're trying to be a partnership. Because listen, as much as I've gone against a lot of these restaurants, I really want to see them all succeed. Now they all can't. I really do want to see restaurants succeed because I know how hard
100%
it
with
is.
you. 100% with you. I want to see them succeed.
And so, what if you build a partnership with another restaurant that's a completely different Italian and a gastropub? You get
Mm-hmm.
the craft brew crowd in, and I get some fine dining folk in that gets a little bit different. Oh, I like this kind of place. This is, and you're basically sharing customers and sharing bartenders. Like
Yep.
I think it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm. Now, I love it as well. And you said you hadn't seen it in Texas. And for anyone watching, or just to state, Paul and I started working together in Texas. He moved to New York. I stayed in Texas. I've now moved to New York, and he's moved off to the Northeast. So he's in Portland. And my time managing downtown Austin, you absolutely traded that way. And as I was leaving the state, I wasn't managing bars anymore, but I was still engaged with friends of mine online. And at least in Austin, I've seen it at some other places, but in Austin, it's super popular. And it's online. It was through, it had to have been through Facebook or another social media, but it was Liquid Ninjas for Austin. And they just traded stories from different locations. They talked about patrons that shared locations, and managers and operators would go on there and say, hey, I'm looking for an experienced bartender for Friday and Saturday night. And you'd read below at the very beginning of who wanted to go, but then after Friday, Saturday night, you could still read in the comments of, we had such a great time, thanks for joining us, da, 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 da. And you saw the interaction, the motivation that the team got from bringing in that fresh blood, but then that talent went away again. So my job was never threatened. You only helped me out on a Friday night when we knew that we had an event or something that was going to get me slammed.
Yeah, and you know what? There needs to be. I mean, I know there's resources out there, but a lot of these resources, I'm probably going to get into it. I mean, you know, there's a lot of resources out there for operators. You know, the whole days of Craigslist and LinkedIn. I mean, that's important, but there's some like versions of that just for culinary, just for bartenders, just for servers, just for seasonal. I mean, I remember, I live in Maine. We get Massachusetts and Maine gets a wave from Florida. Not right now, but we get a wave from Florida because during the winter, we're unless you're at a resort, it's pretty slow. But during the summer, they want to beat the heat, and they come up here, and we pay well. I mean, you make some very good money up here, especially during the tourist season. So I think that's another opportunity, is use your resources.
What so I'm completely with you. Like, look for what, not just LinkedIn, not just Craigslist. Don't just look at the typical ones. Look beyond it. Look for the very specific. Get specific on it. Be like New York City barbecue hostess. Like, get specific about what you're looking for and see if that opens up the channels for you. So I know that you've been driving down the road and you see on the little signs out where they put the letters on it, and it says, accepting applications Monday through Thursday, 2 to 4 p.m. Bring resume.
No.
Judge the restaurant for me right now, because I know I already have.
Probably don't have a website. They don't have social media. Their food's probably out of a package. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go that far. You're so lost, out of touch with reality. It scares me. If that help one assigned is a thing of the past. If you can't one-touch apply for a job through your phone, you won't get people. Not in this industry. Not depending on who you're trying to hire, but anything younger than me, you're not. And if you make them enter their resume after they uploaded their resume, shame on you.
Where you have to fill out each line. Here's my name. Here's this. Here's previous work.
I just sent you my resume.
Yeah. Well, is a resume required? Do you have to have a resume to get a job in this industry?
No.
I'm 100% with you as well. Yeah.
I mean, that's where I think the next boost down the line is like badges. You get badges that goes on there. I mean, because right now LinkedIn is basically your resume. You get these little badges that say, "Hey, Chef so and so said you are a certified saucier, or you can make a dang good sauce, or you're a great grill cook, or you're boosting." You get a little badge, and then it's kind of like word of mouth. Like, all right, hey, if Joe Schmo at Chateau, Steakhouse says he's good, or she's good.
Right. Do you know what it tells me when I see a sign outside of a restaurant that says accepting applications Monday through Thursday, 2 to 4? It tells me that they're just only hiring through this cattle call, that they're not actively recruiting, that they only accept people that walk in their door, that they're not initiating the conversations. And that's going to tell me that manager or the owner, the operator, whoever it is, probably manages that same way. That if you've got a complaint, you're somebody that needs to escalate something, you've got an issue, they're like, hold on, I can only accept your complaint between 9:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. Like, I just don't get it. I have a schedule for everything that I do, but if an employee needs something, if a guest needs something, My time is yours. What do you
This is
need?
my
What's
thing.
going on?
That person walking through your door is not only a future, maybe a future employee, it might be a
Mhm.
future customer.
Sure.
So, I mean, now if somebody walks in with a resume at 7:30 at night we're an hour away and wants to talk to a manager about a position, then I'd be just, I'd say we'll take it and be polite about it, but then I would
Yeah.
have to say we'll call you another time,
I I
and
totally
and
agree.
question their judgment.
Totally agree. Now, if it's somebody quote experienced bartender, I'm going to
It would
doubt
be
their
like,
experience. But if it's somebody who's trying to work the front desk or trying to get their foot in the door, they want to be a host or a dishwasher, and they walk in at that time, they might not know that that's a bad time. They might be thinking, oh, they're busy, they're open, this is the right time. So
yeah,
I'd absolutely extend that benefit of the doubt depending on what they're trying to do and what they've done before, that if they don't know the industry, the fact that they walked in at 7 p.m. on a Friday night, as much as it inconvenienced you, they took initiative. They're somebody who's looking for a job and wants to work. They'll learn that that was the wrong time. Don't discount them for making the effort. Again, if they come in saying, "Oh, I've got 10 years bartending experience," I'm like, "No, you don't. Not if you're
yeah, because
walking
you want
in
to show up
here."
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it depends on who they are, what they're looking for. That if I'm slammed and somebody, just like if I've got a guest complaint when I'm slammed on a Friday night, I don't tell that guest that I'm too slammed to listen to their complaint. I still have time to listen to them. And
absolutely.
if somebody's coming in with a legitimate request for application, I'm going to listen to it. And if it's
Do
legitimate, that
you
means,
do you let sorry to interrupt, but do you
yeah.
do you let your bartenders or front of house staff hand out they want an application, do you let them hand that out?
Uh, One, I'm going to talk to anybody who asks for I'm going to make time to go talk to anybody who
Yeah,
asks for it. And if somebody grabs an application from the host up front and leaves, I'm going to draw some conclusions there, because I think that face-to-face, that conversation, that handshake, that moment in time of, hey, tell me your name, tell me what's going on. Sure, take your time, go do whatever you need, fill that out and get back to me. My name's Leslie, come ask for me, make sure they're here. What are you looking for? I want that interaction, because that tells me so much about how they're going to work more than what they're going to write on that application. So I think I'm answering your question. I don't care who hands them the application, but I expect to be involved in the process.
that's what I mean. That's why sometimes I don't let them have that
Sure.
application. I personally want to do it, or a manager person do it, because I want to just see their face and say hi,
Okay. Yeah.
so it doesn't fall through the crack. Because sometimes when we're busy, we will stop. Sometimes staff is not trained well enough to know, hey, we need to stop and this is important, because it's not as important to them as it is to us. They think it's competition at times.
Sometimes, and sometimes it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Do your job.
yeah. Don't you
Do
get
your
your Bill
job. I won't
Belichick on me.
replace you. Yeah. Oh goodness. All right. So, man, I think we can go on and on, which is good, because this is going to be a series about going on and on. This is recruiting. We're about to get into the next steps of training and then retaining, keeping them on staff, and then inspiring. So, final question for this segment: what is the biggest mistake operators will make when recruiting talent?
Not knowing what they exactly want.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest one.
That's phenomenal. Like saying, okay, I need 30 people to run my restaurant and I have 29. I need one more. I'm like, what do you need this one more to do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I
a
like that.
set job title,
Mhm.
know what you want, not only experience wise, and like we talked about experience,
Mhm.
the basic experience that you need. Like we could go on and on what that is,
Yeah.
but what they want to do, how they want to fit in their culture. Um, we do it with our we've done it my whole life. Like you say, he's awesome or she's awesome, but doesn't fit us.
Mhm.
And it's a tribalism kind of mentality. But when you're running a restaurant and you believe in this and you do this all day long, you kind of have to have that same staff member.
From a HR perspective, one awful thing that I've seen before that I know for a fact Paul and I are speaking in generalities, because in real life, not a fit is not a reason to not hire or term somebody. what we're referring to is they come in, I've got this skill, this skill, this skill, this skill, and this skill. And as an operator, you'd be like, yeah, this is the only one that I'm looking for, and I would need this one and this one. So based on the skills that you have and that I need, you're not going to fit into the job role that I'm offering. So,
yeah, I'm not messing around with protected classes. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm
or
talking
personalities.
about
Yeah,
personality. No, I'm talking about, your skill sets fit the position we need. You might be amazing employee at this, and this, like you said.
Yep.
Well, I need 2 of those, but I need these other 2 also.
Fantastic.
And it could be something as, answering emails a certain way. I mean, that's a skill.
Always looking to appease HR over here, like making sure that, hey, when we say culture fit, like, here's what we mean.
And, I know it's like the worst.
Yeah.
Worst choice of words by me.
I know you mean it, and I want to make sure that our audience, however small it may be, like, knows what we're talking about and knows how to articulate those things. And in the world of recruiting, you've got to be specific. If you say you've got to have a New York attitude, what does that mean? Because I've seen so many attitudes. Like, which one are you referring to?
The good one, the bad one, or the one between?
Yeah. And I mean, okay, so recruiting, part 1 of 4. And this is going to be a whole series on hiring talent. I hope that we're skimming the surface of it. And I hope it's as exciting to listen to and like stirring up some ideas. And we're just starting off. We're eager to get into the next few parts. I'm super interested in hearing more from everyone on tips, pros, cons, stories, disasters. What have you seen? What have you experienced with recruiting? Did Paul and I miss anything? I hope so. Probably quite a bit. There's no way we covered everything. What did we bring up that you hadn't considered before? Hopefully something. Hopefully we've got some insight there. Be sure to follow the channel, show some love. We'll keep coming back with more strategies, insights, and looking to improve your operations. Thank you.
Thank you so much.